Alright guys, we're back. I'm just gathering my tools here and we'll try to get a little bit more done on Nitro. And we'll try to get this thing done. I gotta send it off to a friend of mine. So, laying out my tools because really just gotta clean it up at this point. Just gotta get in here and get all this, get all my tools out. There we go. I've got that sample of my pasta song stuck in my head from bad lip reading. So, anyway. Oh, that's just weird. Anyway, let's take a look-see. Alright, not this tool. I need a different tool. There we go. Let's see how we got these little bits right in here that need to come out. So I got to smooth it down just a hair. So I don't want a bunch of little bits. Nitro doesn't have weird little cooties in his hair. So we got to clear that out. There we go. You really can't see it here, but there are some little lines, and we'll try to make a few more to kind of, and I gotta fix the top of his head just a hair. It's one of the things that I noticed when I was looking at the top of his head. So what we're gonna do is kind of smooth that down. Oh, there we go. Now, there we go. There we go. And that should do it. And then the next phase is to go and put him in the oven. Trying to put a few more lines here to kind of put a little flow and some flush to his hair. So I think that'll work. I just gotta get him cleaned up and get him baked. Now I do got one more thing I gotta do because we're gonna put him on a base, so that means we gotta turn him over. And I gotta put a hole right up here. There we go. And what that's for is I'm gonna put a wooden peg into it and drill out the base so that he'll stand on the base and stay there. So we're gonna go bake him and we'll be back when he's done. Alright guys, we're back. I'm gonna try to explain what I'm doing. I'm fixing to paint the base coat on Nitro. I've got some black paint. This is apple barrel. Black. Gonna basically give him a black base coat, and the reason we do that is because, well, it helps all the colors to come out, so we always go from the darker colors to the lighter. If you've watched some of the other sculpting videos, you guys knew that. So, we're not going to paint the bottom of it because paint will actually interfere with the glue. But let's go ahead and do this, and we'll have to see if I can get a different brush, because that one there's not going to do the job nicely. Not going to play nice. This here's not quite as big. So let's see if we can get it to work. Okay. You wipe this brush down. Alright, now. I wonder if my paint's trying to go off. Seems like it's a little bit thin. Give it a good shake. It's a bit drippy, and that's worrisome. I may have to buy some more paint. Alright. I'm going to go with a couple of coats of it here. So I ain't got a whole lot. Yeah. I know it's kind of a crude representation of his, the gold chain that you see in the game, but, still think when it's painted metallic, it'll be alright. So you won't be able to see near as much detail now, even with it painted black, until we start putting the other colors on it. So what we're going to do is, like for example on his face, we're going to go from brown, a dark chocolate brown, and gradually bring it up to a beige, and then eventually add in a little bit of flesh tone as we bring it up every time. So that he'll start off with a little bit of flesh in the brown and end up with just a little bit of brown in the flesh, and then end up with the proper flesh tone. Which is kind of an odd thing, because human flesh takes a lot of different colors, and that's one of the great things about humanity. It's variety, and I don't want to see anything happen to that. God made us in some tremendous variety. Each one of us. I do apologize if the musculature is not quite up on its par. Mark Stamper, I'm not. Mark Stamper was a guy that he used to wrestle under the handle of the Golden Gorilla, and honestly, one of the best sculptors I've ever seen for musculature. I've got one of his pieces here. Sadly he passed away a few years ago. He liked to do things like Sasquatches, Yetis, Bigfoots, that sort of thing, and he really had a good handle on musculature. I do heads, but knocked him over. At least we know he's good and dry. That the clay was good and hard. So I'm one of the few. I guess I'm one of the few people now who can say they've honestly knocked over nitroglycerin. Okay. There we go. Now, we're going to have to let that dry for a little bit. You get paint all over your hands. Occupational hazard. Alright. We're going to let that one dry for a bit, and we'll be back here shortly. Alright guys, we're back. We're about to start painting the next coat. And I know it's not a perfect coat of paint, but it's not going to have to be. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to go in and paint the darker areas, and kind of get this whole thing off the ground. We're going to go from darker to lighter. So, right now we're going to start with Nick Nitro's face. Now for that, I'm going to use the pen brush. Just basically because it'll be perfect for getting into these cracks and crevices. So, may end up having to let some of it dry as we try to get in others. So, I'm trying to get in here. Don't want too much paint, but we do need some. That's not going to be his final skin color, but that's where we're starting. I may end up having to do a couple of coats here. But that's where we're going to start. Right now, it just looks like he's had a really bad tan. So we're going to put the brown up for right now. I don't know. Let's go over his hair with it too, because I want to make sure kind of layer up these colors. So we'll start with brown and work our way up towards the blonde. It's not to try to make it look like his hair is bleached. It's so that his hair sort of will have some shading depth to it. You know, I don't talk much when I'm doing this, but it's because I'm trying to concentrate. If you're going to be painting something like this, remember when you're going to yellow and you're trying to get some sort of depth, you want to paint like kind of like I'm doing. Now, set that down a minute. Going to use a little pewter gray now on his sunglasses. We're going to work way up towards silver so we can make like some mirror sheen glasses. Oh, got some bleed over. Alright, wipe my brush down. I accidentally pulled a little bit of that brown. I need to lid this up here. Let's see how many minutes we got left on this particular film. Alright, now. There we go. And we're going to let that dry a minute. Clean this brush off. And put away the gray for a minute. Go in and just kind of spread this out a little bit. I don't want it all bunched up in one spot. Maybe I should get a different brush. Let me see what we got. Go with a wide brush. Yeah, he looks like he ought to be like yelling, Adrian. So, let that dry a few minutes. Now, we will be using a little bit of this Golden Sunset, but not where you're thinking. I want to apply some of it onto this necklace, because kind of give it a little shading. They call it Golden Sunset. To me, it looks more like mustard. I'm not real sure what color shirt I'm going to give him. And we're going to let that dry a few minutes. I'll be back in a few. Alright guys, we had a malfunction with our video, and we'll have to show you what we did to bring you up to speed. I dry brushed a little bit of this Golden Sunset over his hair. Just use a very minimum of yellow. I went over this with King's Gold. Over here we're going to eventually put metal over it. Dolphin Gray over the sunglasses, and I went with a layer of khaki over the flesh tone. Now we're going to go get some other colors and keep working on this. We'll be back in a few minutes. Alright guys, we're back. We're about to do some more work on it. The good thing about dry brushing is that it gets done pretty quickly. And I'm going to hopefully this moon yellow will still be viable. Paints kind of have an expiration date like anything else does. So let's see what we got here. This is actually a little bit thicker than usual, so this may actually be even better for this job. Let's see. Get a little bit less now. There we go. We'll also bring moon yellow into a little bit of it here, and just kind of dry brushing over this. Try not to hit anything I don't want to hit. Alright, now let's go ahead and we're actually going to bring the flesh tone into play now. So let's see if I can find a brush that I'm happy with to do this job. Yeah, that'll do the job. Let me get it cleaned off good. Now we're going to come up here. I'm going to grab a little bit of flesh tone. Hopefully not cause any weirdness. It's getting a bit of a gray cast. I may go over this with a little extra. Maybe add a little red to this to kind of, so he doesn't look like a corpse. This flesh tone is just a tad weak. Looks like he's a tad under the weather. Have to come back and add a little red to that, or mingle it just a hair. I got an idea. I'm gonna bring up just a little tiny bit of khaki, and we'll mix it with a little bit of this and see if I can get this, because this paint here is not very good. Flesh tone paint's another one of those that separates too easily. we're going to mix it up here and then kind of go with that. And probably should add a little red. See how this looks on him. I'm going to go get a little bit of cameo pink. I think that's going to help us. Be right back. Because he really doesn't have any blood in his cheeks right now. He looks like he just saw a ghost. Or Gangrel in a Speedo. Not sure which. If you play Wrestler Unstoppable, you'll get that joke. Yeah, that actually does work a little bit. I want to overcoat him, but I need to have a little bit. Now, it's a good thing we brought the pink in here too, because I'm going to be using it. When this dries, I'm going to have to let that dry. I put on too much paint, I think, on his face, but we'll make it work. I'm going to paint his shirt purple, I think. And then we'll go for the next color of yellow that we're going to be using. Let me get the wide fan brush thingy here, more like a blade brush, not an edger. It's just kind of a blade looking brush, big one. And what we're going to do is come in here, we're going to paint, trying to get a little bit of color here. Trying to keep it off of the rest of the paint. We may have to do this in sections. As you can hear, I'm doing much better today. We'll go with this, and I might put a decal or something on the front of it when I'm done. Now, so far so good. Let's go ahead and clean the brush off and put away this purple for a few minutes, because I'm not done with it, but I'm going to be using it again. But we're going to be going to another shade now. I do believe Sunny Yellow is the next color up to dry brush on here. Let's see what kind of shape this paint's in. Go ahead and clean this brush down. I have to change my paint water. Maybe getting a little murky. See if we can get some of this extra off here. Just need to get a little bit. I don't want to have a whole bunch on it. Kind of want to cross maybe the grains. That way you're not getting it all into the grooves that you just filled in. Yeah, I know there's a brown spot there. It's going to be covered over with lavender when I'm done. Now, set that there. Now, we can put up some of this yellow paint. So I'm fixing to go and get some more. I'll be back in a minute. Alright guys, we're back. We're about to use the first of the metallics. I had an epiphany as to what I'm going to do with his glasses. Since we got everything in purple, we're going to go with that. So, here's what I got in mind. First thing we're going to do is paint his necklace. So I've got my pinpoint brush, because we're going to be doing some of it with this. Right in here. So I want it to be really, really, really gold looking. It's not as detailed as some of my past work, but I concentrated heavily on the face, and not as good at this as I once was. But that effect actually works really well. Kind of a big old necklace that he's got there. And I'm going to check something. Hang on. Alright, that should fix the problem. I had an issue with the coloring was a little off, and I just now caught it, so sorry about that. Where's the lavender? I've got to paint on the inside of the shirt over here. Let me wash off this gold paint off this pinpoint brush, because I got to get into some fine pointed areas right here to do this. You can see right inside here. I got to avoid hitting my... There we go. Now, up here, up underneath the shirt. There we go. Now, oh no. You can't go tying on a few, Nick. Now, remember I told you I had a surprise for the sunglasses? Well, here we are. Let me see if I can open this up and shake this paint up first and then try it. I've got this metallic amethyst, so I thought I'd give him purple sunglasses. Just because I think that would look cool. And it would. And it would. Now, so I'm going to get a little bit of this here and just kind of go up here. And just kind of go over the top of his glasses with this purple paint. And be very careful not to get it onto the skin. To the skin tone. Now that's going to be the trick. But, oh, there. Check that out. It's going to be all glossy looking. Alright, now, I'm going to add a little more pink to this paint. I'm going to go over his face one more time. Kind of give it a little bit more. Where's that brush? I had a little fat pointed brush here. There it is. Yeah. Same one I used for his face. We're going to mix this in. Go with it. Just a little bit more, maybe a little bit of khaki to go in there too. So right now it just looks like he's wearing cold cream, and that won't do. So add a little bit more to that. And let's see. And that actually creates a pretty passable flesh tone. Now, let's go ahead and dry brush this off. What I mean by dry brush is you want to get as much paint off of this thing as you can before you apply it. And you just kind of want to go over the... See, now that's actually starting to look like he's not dead. So... There we go. So far, so good. Now, I need to, I'll be back in a minute. We're going to go get some lighter yellow paint so I can keep working on the hair while this is drying off. Alright guys, next up is sunny yellow. So it's shade lighter, and let's hope this paint's good. So, like I said, some of these paints, I've had them forever, so If you're an artist, you understand about paint, not throwing away paints until they're absolutely no more use. So I gotta get a little bit of this sunny yellow off here. And come over here and just kind of and you will be able to see here as the hair starts to lighten up. See, now his hair's starting to really come up. So we're going to sit him down here a minute. Let's go ahead and throw the other coats on top of that. Use even less paint because we're just going to dust the top of it this time. For that, we're going to go with Pale Daffodil. I use such pretty names for these things. See if I can get just bare coating of it. Just barely there. Just kind of a quick dusting over it. And that will bring out his hair. See, that really does bring it out. That's pretty. Now, come around here. I need my lavender paint back. Wash off this brush. And go ahead and paint his back. And I think that's about the right shade for Wrestler Impossible Lavender. Wrestler Unstoppable, not Wrestler Impossible. That's funny. Possibly even a Freudian slip, who can tell. Now, I brought out some dark purple and we're going to be using that, but first, let's go ahead and we're going to be breaking it back into the cameo pink for a minute. See how much time I got left on my video. And we're going to break out our friend the pinpoint brush. Because what we're going to do is, no matter who you are, whether you wear lipstick or not, your lip is not the same color as the rest of your face. So, what we're doing now is kind of giving him the lip there. It's barely perceptible, but just enough to let you know that it's there. Now we're going to be sticking with the pinpoint brush a minute. And let's put some war paint on him, because he wears war paint up underneath the sunglasses. So for this, we're going with Royal Violet. And it's mixing a little with his face paint, but we'll come back over it in a couple of coats. I just kind of want to lay out the pattern. Just kind of up over his eyebrows here. And we'll let that dry. I'll put another coat on. But there we are, as it stands. Now I'll be going, when the whole thing dries, I'll go over it with a, what they call a dusting or a glaze of white, and that will be it. Anyways, This is Dr. Von Mad, and until we finish up, which will be a very short video on the last one, don't forget to follow us on Pinterest, Patreon, and Facebook, and I will catch you cats on the flip side. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye, and God bless.